Hey there everyone, welcome to an episode of Skis Productions. Today we're going to be doing kind of a mountain bike ride. As you can see, I have my 2020 Yeti SB 140 here, and I'm basically just going to be riding up the side of this mountain here. Now, most places snow hasn't thawed at yet, so at least any place that's shaded hasn't thawed. But it's basically been ice and snow the past week or so. It's a little slippery, so I'm gonna have to be really careful on my way back down. But if I remember correctly, this is going to be a 200 or about 300 foot climb here. I like coming here because it's got this nice little water feature over here where all the streams just kind of come together at. And you see a bunch of foot traffic through here because there's actually the Appalachian Trail over here. Now, most people don't like walking on the Appalachian Trail around here because it's just too rocky. I gotta say, I really needed this mountain bike ride, and I drove my car here, the trailhead, and there's just so many stupid drivers out there today. Like, seriously, I was doing 70 and a 35 at one point, and there was a truck just tailgating me. And I was doing 50 and a 35 in another section of road, and this old lady just comes flying up behind me. It goes into oncoming traffic like I wasn't going fast enough, or like I was just sitting in the middle of the road. Just an old lady. Like, I don't know what's gotten into drivers lately, but you can see the conditions are not that great. And have drivers like that, driving like that, it just puts everyone else's life at risk. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to climb this. Might be a little too steep. Might not have the traction, but we're gonna find out. This is really steep. I should put a gradient data screen on my GPS. Well, I'll probably put the GPS overlay on this video. I never really was good at vlogging while cycling because I get so out of breath, especially when trying to climb hills like this. I mean, the camera really doesn't do it justice. I'm in the granny gear, crawling along here. Gotta lean forward a little bit because front tire is starting to lift up. And one thing I gotta say that I really like about the Yeti suspension is that I don't get that bobbing. Like, it's not like this when you're climbing. It's nice and smooth, and I don't feel like the back ends even has suspension, except for when I go over logs. I basically feel it come down, go like this, and that's about it. I wish I would have tried a Yeti sooner. I would have never went the route of Cannondale. I used to race Cannondale, and basically your option with that for climbing was reduce the travel on the rear shock, which you did by a little switch on your handlebars. And it basically reduced it from 140 millimeter in the rear to 120. Or no, down to 80. That's right, it's down to 80. So it's like an XC bike, which I guess you get kind of the same feeling as the Yeti gives you with the Infinity Link. Except even with the 80 millimeter reduced travel, whew, my tire's slipping in the back. So even with the 80 millimeter reduced travel, it still is kind of bouncy when you get pedaling like this. It's kind of like try to lug yourself up the hill. The Yeti, I don't experience that. And you can hear my tire braking traction in the background. Here we go. Kind of flattened out a little bit here. And I didn't bring any breakdown tools with me because basically I break down just riding down this mountain. And yes, this is a mountain before people say anything, because this overall has more than 1,000 foot elevation gain. But that's if you start down at the road. Here I'm starting down at the trail and riding up. I have done this in the past with my Cummins trikes. I've also hiked up it, well, almost to the top of my wife. Unfortunately, I didn't end up getting this Ram AXS 12-speed installed today, so I'm still on mechanical shifters here. Still got the cable, so, which is fine. I've used cable drivetrains, or should I say analog drivetrains, for years. The only other electronic drivetrain I had was Shimano Di2. And I really like the Shimano Di2 on my one road bike. However, that is a really old Di2 system before they integrated the Bluetooth stuff onto it. So with the AXS, it has Bluetooth. And I got the XX1, which I actually did the video before I went for this ride, of the unboxing of that drivetrain to install on this bike. Now, I ended up just being an unboxing video instead of the unboxing and installation like I wanted to do, because all the batteries are dead. Even the watch battery and the shifter was dead. Just kind of weird that they would do that. And now, one thing I did notice on the AXS was the battery protector that goes on the battery. It actually has contacts on it. I did notice that there is a dead and charge switch on there. I'm not sure if you flip that over manually or if that does it automatically when it senses it's charged. I did notice that there's contacts built into the back of that plastic. So it just has me a little bit curious whether or not it detects if it's actually fully charged and flips that switch for you. I tried flipping it with my fingers, it was a little stiff. I didn't want to force it because, you know, it's delicate plastic. The manual wasn't too helpful. I did look at the manual after the fact just to see if maybe I had to do like double tap buttons or something like that. But nope. Glasses are getting fogged up. Just to see if I was doing something wrong. But nope, functioning exactly how I thought it would. You basically just press the buttons together until the lights turn on and you pair systems. Now the lights turned on, so batteries are at home charging right now. Well, the battery for the rear derailleur is charging, and I got a whole pack of CR2032 batteries on my way here to this trail. Stopped at a local Ace Hardware. They had a 6-pack of CR2032s for $2. Can't beat that. I was gonna buy a Duracell brand, and they were $17 for a 6-pack. So, figure might as well save money and go with a $2 pack. And all you need to do is have a charged battery. I don't know if it'll last longer or not, but find out. I run Duracell on basically all my sensors that I have. Alright, this part gets pretty steep here. You get like a little rest spot here, and then it gets steep. You'll notice me slow down a lot, and maybe even have a problem getting traction. So a little bit about this 2020 Yeti SB140. So I bought this bike used from a bike shop on eBay, And it's an actual physical bike shop. So for those of you thinking that I'm not supporting local bike shops, let me just point out the fact that I have no local bike shops. I mean, to me, local is something that is like maybe 5-10 minutes down the road for me. And the nearest bike shop is about 20 miles away from me. But even then, they don't usually carry anything. So then the second closest one is about 40 miles. Sometimes they have what I need. Then I have to go out to like 45, 50 miles. And that's just not local. It's just better to order from them online. So, and they usually tell me they have to order in the parts online anyway. If I'm paying retail pricing, might as well buy it from another bike shop online that has it for cheaper. So, why was this bike so cheap? So I paid $2,500 for this 2020 Yeti SB140. And usually I saw they ran around right around 3,000. So I'm like, huh, I'm saving $500. I believe it was cheap because it was size extra small. Since I'm a short rider, only 5'2" or 5'3". So that's why I figured it was small. They said the previous owner was a woman that took care of it and basically used it in Utah and moved to Ohio and didn't really use it after they moved back to Ohio. Basically sat in their garage. So on the eBay thing, I was placing the bid and I was like, you know what, $2,500, I don't got much to lose on it. So I actually ended up winning the auction. No one else bid on it. So I asked the seller, hey, does this bike have any scratches or divots or dents or anything on the stanchions of the shock or the fork? They said no. I'm like, cool, awesome, because I am gonna unbox it on camera when I get it and basically show and go over the thing on a bike stand. They're like, oh, that's fine, you won't find anything. So I was like, awesome. Does it have any cracks or scratches through the frame or any breaks in the frame? They said no. Well, they said it has some cosmetic scratches through the paint, which I agree. Most of the scratches I found were just cosmetic. There were some that were kind of into the carbon, but they were in heavily reinforced areas, so I didn't worry about it. There's some epoxy and some touch-up paint and it's fine. So that's when the seller started getting mean with me. When I pointed out, I'm like, look, here's what I found. There's scratches on the left side stanchion, and I could tell it was crashed on that side. And they're like, oh, this bike has never been crashed. Well, how else do you scratch up your forks like that? Because I mean, it wasn't just a scratch in the expensive Kashima coating. It was all the way through. The Kashima coating, like, you can see black. So Kashima coating is gold on the forks I have. So there's like, yeah, well, if you don't like it, start a return with eBay. So I did, but eBay just wanted me to return it. I'm like, no, I just wanted a partial refund for the repair I'm gonna have to do. So I called around the bike shops and stuff like that. At first they're like, oh, well, we can't get the CSUs because they stopped. So if you don't know what the CSU is, it's the upper part that has the stanchions on them. Just the upper part of the fork. So the original estimate I got was about $800 for the part, $100 for the labor to replace the CSU. However, the bike shop informed me, like the shop that actually is a retailer for Fox and stuff, they informed me that, well, they couldn't get the 2020 CSU. So I brought up the fact, like, well, can't you just use the newer CSU and the older forks and the older lowers? They're like, no, because in 2021 they completely redesigned the system to have a different oil flow to bleeder valves on the forks, on the back side of the forks. So I'm like, well, doesn't that just let air in and out? Not really anything else? They're like, we don't know, but basically we can't get the 2020 CSUs, but they said that they're not saying that you can't get them, but they said that they have the part number, they just can't get it. So I look up that part number and it all comes back to a black Kashima coated fork. I even got it from other people on the Yeti website, or on the Yeti group, or not a Yeti group. I got it from people in a mechanics group on Facebook Marketplace, not Marketplace, but just on Facebook. God, I'm making a lot of mistakes. And I'm like, well, all you're pointing me towards is Performance Bicycle online shop, and that's only showing a black Kashima coating. They're like, oh no, Kashima coating was only in gold. It's like, not in 2020. In 2020, you can get it black or gold. And they're like, well, does it really make a difference? It's a Yeti. Yetis have gold Kashima coating. It's like the known thing about Yetis. And it would just be out of place if you run a black Kashima coated fork. But either way, I was looking at about $900 to get the CSU, or not $900 for the CSU. CSU was, I forget how much it was. I think it was $300, but it was the wrong color. Really steep part here. Hold on. There was also another $100 to have a shop install it, like, because it's such a quick and easy swap. Like, great. But again, I couldn't get it, so then I looked at 2021 forks, and those were $800, which is, you know, all right. And then with shipping and everything, $860, I think it was. So I'm like, that seems like a lot of money for an old fork. I mean, we're talking just the next model year newer than the one I was running. So I decided to just go ahead and do the model 2025 model with the new Grip X2 damper, since that was $1,035, shipping, taxes, everything included. So for $200 more, got the better damper. Unfortunately, the newer forks only come in 44mm rake. So when I turn like this, it's not as snappy as the original fork. But I also found the original fork to be a little bit too snappy, so it kind of worked out in my favor. It's too twitchy. And I think a lot of people agreed that the original fork was too twitchy, and they made similar upgrades. But also, another thing to kind of mention about the 2025 model is that they only come in 29er. This is a 27.5 wheels on here, which I personally, I like the 27.5 wheels. A lot of people are like, oh, well, they're less efficient, they don't roll as easily. Yeah, well, I'm a short guy, so when I sit on a 29er, I should say it's not so comfortable when you have to jump down off the seat in a hurry to put your feet down on a 29er when you're a short guy like me. So 27.5 is ideal. It's like the biggest size I can go without going too big. Can you believe that we're still climbing this mountain? I gotta get a drink of water. All right. So where was I? Oh yeah, so 650B versus 29er, or 27.5 versus 29er. 27.5 all day for me. It's just the right size for me. Originally, when I was a teenager, they only had 26-inch tires. So sharp bend ahead. There's no sharp bend ahead. So it really wasn't a debate between 27.5 and 26. So I rode a 26-inch tire. I'll tell you what, that 26-inch tire went everywhere. Talking about deep mud, I'd ride it through streams to the point that I'm up to my chest in water. So yeah, I really trusted a 26-incher mountain bike. And when I grew up and got older and moved to Southern California, right now I'm in Pennsylvania. I moved to California because I was in the military. I got stationed out there in SoCal, which I love the weather out there. Yeah, so I got stationed out in SoCal, and that's when I started getting into mountain biking a lot. I was always into mountain biking here in Pennsylvania. He's supposed to say stop, do not enter one way. I'm gonna go straight. Yeah, then I got so my first expensive bike out there in California was actually a 29er. It was a 2015 Cannondale Trigger Carbon 2. Great bike. Stand over height was non-existent. So if I had to get on the pedals real quick because I slipped on a rock or something, yeah, I wasn't touching the ground, I was just falling over. Basically tuck and roll. And trained on that, put about, I don't know, 700 miles on that bike. And when talking about mountain bikes, 700 miles is quite a lot of usage, because you don't cover miles as fast on a mountain bike. I think I averaged around 10 miles an hour, so 70 hours riding. Sometimes even less than that, especially when I have steep hills like this, where I'm averaging like 3.5 miles an hour. My ass is hurting. This is cold. It's currently like 36 degrees out here. Real feel of 26. It's just a cold dampness. Yeah, back to my Cannondale 2015 Cannondale Trigger Carbon 2 29er. So yes, 29er does roll a little bit easier, but also couldn't run as wide tires on it, and it was mostly sandy terrain out there. Because the wider you go, taller tire gets. So anyway, I ended up taking that in for warranty one day to a bike shop down there, and they dropped a wrench on the swing arm. I'm like, come on, dudes. I brought it in for a bottom bracket creaking because it was basically creaking for a bottom bracket. It should still be covered under warranty. And I had just done my first race and brought it into the shop, so I put me down for a couple races for warranty. And I'm just like, they're like, well, come on in. And I saw there's a chunk taken out of my swing arm. I'm like, what happened? Like, oh, we hit it with a metal wrench. Why the were you using a metal wrench on my bottom bracket? Like, the swing arms, not swing arm, but the crank arms, you just undid a bolt and they pulled right off. You don't use a wrench. I did it myself several times, so I know how to do it. But I brought it into them for warranty, so they had to do it. And that's why I don't like bike shops, because then they basically try to be like, oh, well, we're not on the hook for that damage. I'm like, the hell you ain't. So because I'd only had the bike a few months, I think it was 5 months, 6 months, they ended up giving me most of the refund back for it. They put towards another bike. So I ended up getting the next year, 2016, Cannondale Trigger Carbon 1. I really liked the color. It was green and everything. I got most of my parts to match it, helmets to match, glasses to match it. In fact, I still got the glasses that match it. These glasses you see in my video, yeah, those are the glasses I got. They match my green Cannondale Trigger Carbon 1. Almost to the top. So yeah, after I got the Cannondale Trigger Carbon 1, that came in 27.5 inch wheels. And from there on out, I just decided that 27.5, that's what I needed. The thing is, they just keep making bikes larger and larger for taller riders, but they don't give two craps about smaller riders. They screw the little guy, just make it fit the guys that are like 6'10". So now you got like 32-inch tires. This is crazy. I don't even know where you buy 32-inch wheels at. Anyway, that's how I got on the 27.5 tires. So looks like we're almost to the top. About 30 minutes in. The relaxing part is on the way down. Turn over this way. Now, for those of you who don't know this, I have ridden this before. Actually, I think I did a video on it before. I rode my Ice Trike Adventure down this entire trail all across the top of these mountains here. This is more slush than anything, but we're still going uphill. So far, I've had this Yeti SB140 for maybe a little bit less than a month. And I've done some upgrades to it. Mainly being the fork. With the fork, I got the front mud guard on it. which I felt was really important to go get the mud guard for it to help protect the stanchions from dirt and stuff. But again, this fork is meant to fit a 29er wheel, so there is a gap there. But it actually turns out to work in my favor, especially when I get into really sticky mud. That way the mud has a place to clear at, and it isn't just sitting there grinding away at the mud guard. Waiting on my rear mud guard, because it is spring, going into springtime here in Pennsylvania, which means the trails are going to start thawing out and it's going to start getting muddy out. This is more slush than it is actual ice. And that beep means time for another drink of water. So I'm going to go ahead, take a break. It's at 30 minutes. Yeah, you can see my little trail here. I'm gonna ride up ahead to, here's a field clearing on the left. I like to take a break in, snap some pictures there, and probably turn around and head back. Honestly, today I should probably do a 2-hour ride, but I didn't bring any energy gels, so probably not a good day to do a 2-hour ride. So yeah, I could definitely tell you that I really like the way this Yeti SB140 climbs. I mean, it's not a fast climber, but it's not bouncy, so it definitely has the potential to be fast. Versus other mountain bikes I've had where it's just kind of bouncy with rear suspension. This feels more like a hardtail mountain bike when you're climbing. But yeah, it still has suspension there. So when you go over logs and stuff while you're climbing, it does kind of bounce on the way down. I've really put this thing off-road lately, especially in snow and ice. Can't wait till all this stuff thaws. Come on. It's getting a little difficult to ride here. Oh, looks like the other side might be a little thinner. Center's a little thin. There we go. Not as slippery in the center there. So where am I at right now? So this is Pennsylvania State Game Lands, and I double checked before it came out. There's no big game seasons going on right now, so there really shouldn't be anybody out here, which is very evident by the lack of footprints out here. There's only a hiker that hiked up there to the gate. But you can see I'm the only person that's been through here probably in the past week. Here's the fuel clearing I was talking about over here. Now this actually says closed to all motorized vehicles. It's a good thing I'm not a motorized vehicle, huh? So for those of you who don't know, you are allowed to ride mountain bikes on state game lands, but you're only supposed to ride them outside of big game seasons. Unless you are using them to hunt. So you are allowed to use bicycles to hunt during big game season. Well, you can't just be out here recreational riding during big game season. One of the reasons why I like riding out here is because it's so quiet. So just let me shut up for a minute so you guys can just hear a nice, peaceful area. So quiet, you can probably hear my breathing. My nose is all stuffed up from the cold. I'm not sick, it's just cold out. All I hear is a plane in the sky. It's a beautiful day in February, though. Guess I'm gonna go ahead and ride up this mountain the rest of the way. Almost there. I know I keep saying I'm almost there. That's because I am. It just takes a while to climb there when you're going so slow. It's a notification telling me I connected to Starlink because I had no service out here, so it went ahead and connected me to Starlink when I lost service. So I don't know if you know this, but the cell phone companies are starting to have Starlink connection for text messaging. I'm with T-Mobile, so you had to sign up for the beta version, which doesn't allow you to use data or anything, just text. And they say you're supposed to be able to use data and have calling in the future. I don't know how much more they're gonna end up charging for that, but well, feels like we hit a flat area. So yeah, made it to the top now. Yeah, we're definitely at the top now. You can just roll. Okay, I guess time to turn around and go back down. Getting down won't take us nearly as long as it did to get up. Now, I know this is not really a testament to the Fox 36 fork, because it's just kind of like a smooth trail because of the snow. But once this all thaws, this is basically just a gravel road. And there are parts of it that are... I'm just trying to catch my breath from pedaling fast. There are parts of it that get pretty rough. This is definitely by no means a mountain bike trail. But, you know, I just wanted to get out and do at least an hour ride today. So this seemed like a good opportunity to come out here, put some fresh tracks in. As you can see, my tracks and some animal tracks are really the only tracks in the snow here. Now, I am running about half the pressure that Yeti recommends for my front and rear tires. I'm running about 10 psi in the front, 15 in the back. And I didn't realize this at first when I first got this bike, but it's set up tubeless. So I asked the shop I bought it from whether or not it was set up tubeless, but they're like, we don't know. I also asked about volume spacers in the fork. They're like, we don't know. they didn't really know much about the bike, but say they serviced the bike and stuff like that. But I got the bike. I mean, most of it looks to be in pretty new condition. Like, it doesn't have many miles on it, especially for being out in Utah. It definitely didn't seem to have that many miles. Didn't have much wear anywhere. The bearings, the pivot bearings need to be replaced eventually. Right now I'm just coasting, so I can talk pretty easily. The pivot bearings definitely need to be replaced, which I was just going to buy the whole bearing kit to do all the pivot bearings this spring. It's only like 60 bucks. At first I wanted to get the, okay, yeah, pedal through here. Kind of flattened out. I don't know, it's really slushy here. So the pivot bearings, the one pivot bearing is like frozen in place when I got it, so I made sure to break it free by rinsing out all the dirt and grit with WD-40, soaking in the greaser and stuff like that. This overall cleaning, and I put some more WD-40 in the bearing because I really just want the bearing to last me till spring. And the pivot bearing doesn't really pivot. It just goes up and down on the Yeti Infinity Link. So for that reason, I wasn't really too worried about it, about being able to pivot and rotate that much, but I broke it free from what it was so it wouldn't wear out the bolt. Now I was considering upgrading to the Yeti Infinity Link 2, and really the only difference is that it has dust covers on the bearings and it has thicker bearings, so if dirt and stuff does get in there, they shouldn't freeze up as easily. I want to see where this goes. Actually, it doesn't look like I can walk. Doesn't look like I can actually ride through here. Yeah, probably not. Let's see what this sign says. Pennsylvania State Forest boundary. So, I'm not sure why that's posted there. Why it's important, but I don't know, maybe it marks the difference between state game lands and state forests. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I'll just kind of set up here for some pictures. See if we can get up here. Right up here, get some pictures. So right now this is an inactive field, so even so, it's on state game land, so I don't see the harm in coming here, taking a photo. There we go. Got a nice picture out here. But yeah, take a look at that Fox Factory 36 fork on there. You can see the mud guard I got. I got it in orange instead of the stock black because I just think the orange looked better. Not necessarily on this bike, but I just think overall the orange fork just looks like it's more expensive, so it stands out. I've wanted to put the orange fork on another bike I had ever since so I used to have an electric mountain bike that had a similar orange fork on it. I think it was a 38 though. Well, money out into getting the fork is to have the bike stolen off the roof of my car. I had it locked, but the thief bent the roof rack to get it off. So, word of advice, make sure you run a cable through your roof rack Actually, I even had a cable through the roof rack. They just ripped it off. They just ripped the roof rack off and pulled the bike off. So word of advice, make sure you run a cable through your car whenever you have a bike on the roof of your car. Now, I originally had it inside, I was at a hotel in Arkansas, in Little Rock, my trucking company that I was down there for. And I had it in the hotel room all night, and a couple hours beforehand I decided to just, I'll just throw it on the roof rack in my car, lock it up. It's only gonna be out there for 2 hours, or for like 4 hours. Yeah, within an hour, I was in front of a surveillance camera. Within an hour, it was stolen. Like, I don't know. It was on the back side of the hotel, so it's not like it was near a street side or anything. But the people know it was there. So yeah, ever since then I've been wanting an orange fork to put on my bikes. Fox Factory 36 fork to be exact. So I'm just a fan of the Fox forks. Now, on my Cannondales, I ran the Cannondale Lefty forks, which I believe were actually designed by Fox, but I don't know for sure. I think I definitely need to set less rebound dampening on the rear shock though on this bike. I was just going over these bumps here. The fork seems to be soaking them up pretty good, but the rear, I don't know, the rear seems like it's just really stiff. Going over these footholes. Okay. I think I'm gonna climb up there really quick. Shouldn't take me more than like 5 minutes. Plus it'll keep me nice and warm. And you can see that person, whoever was out here, decided to walk up this too. Now, this is relatively steep. Not the steepest climb I've done. It's the one thing about going downhill in the winter time is you start getting cold. Now, technically, I could just go up the hill a little bit, turn around and go down for more. And eventually I'll get to the bottom. Now, I did put a video on YouTube, me riding this Yeti SB140 through the snow-covered fields, which is a lot shorter than this video, but I feel like I covered a lot more in this video. So anyway, about the scratched fork stanchions that this bike came with. So currently, eBay said they're not going to really help at all. So currently I'm disputing it through the credit card company. They said that could take up to 90 days. But if I haven't heard anything in 60 days, I'll probably go ahead and file a lawsuit in court against the bike shop for the cost of replacement fork. Because overall, they did lie about it. They were trying to say, oh, it got damaged during shipping. The forks were shipped compressed. The part that was scratched was inside the fork lowers. There's no way they got damaged during shipping. And they're a bike shop, so it's not like that they didn't know. They knew. They decided to screw up whoever bought that bike over because they're a shitty bike shop. I haven't spoke to the owner yet, but just communicating on eBay, and they just seem really unwilling to help. and they're only open a couple days a week. So, maybe I'll try communicating with the owner. But I know exactly who it was that told me there was no damage to the bike. So, I know the bike shop's address. I know the owner's first and last name. So, I have everything I need to send them a piece of mail summoning them to court. I think it's more about what's right than it is about the cost at this point. I mean, it is partially about the cost. $1,000 is really not a cheap repair when you're buying a 5+ year-old bike with plans to upgrade it. Originally, I wasn't going to upgrade the forks. I was just going to run what it came with. So that wasn't an expense that I was anticipating. I was going to probably plan on upgrading the drivetrain, but honestly, I wasn't even planning on upgrading anything. I was planning on riding it as is. But I just saw a good deal on AXS, so I decided to go for it, especially with XX1 for $700. I think it's because the new XX system and the XO system is out, that they're direct mount, that they're phasing out the XX1s and XO1s. Double op ones, etc. Let me put my sunglasses on. There we go. Yeah, I just figured it would be a good buy because it's an older bike, and older bikes like 2020 just aren't as valuable. But also at the same point in time, the Yeti design has been relatively unchanged. I mean, the only thing they really changed on the newer models was that they put AXS on it and they run newer suspension. I mean, honestly, the rear shock hasn't really changed at all. Well, they say they changed it in 2021, but I mean, it's the same name. They say they changed the damper so it's more sensitive or something like that. And so you don't, so I guess the damper isn't as bad, as stiff. So I get that. It feels stiff right now, just going down this mountain. But, you know, overall, I wasn't planning on having a $1,035 expense right off the bat with this bike. I didn't want to return it because it's hard to find frame sizes in extra small. So it's like, you know, it kind of decreases the value of the bike, but at the same time, it's also a rare find for me to actually find an extra small frame. And I really need an extra small frame. I mean, right now, this bike has been like a perfect fit for me. Even the way the other rider had it set up, it's been like perfect for me. Except I did just the dampening settings, of course, on the rear shock. I don't even know what they had it set at, but I just set it back to what Yeti recommends, which honestly, the rebound needs to be less on the rear shock. I'm not sure they had the rebound set so stiff for a reason, or maybe the rear shock was just never broken in, which is quite possible because it doesn't look like much has been done to, like, it doesn't look like this bike has had much usage. It literally looks like the person who had it for me literally just rode on the rocks, crashed on the rocks, and that's probably how they scratched their stanchion. But good news is there's no cracks in the frame. Crankset seems to be solid. Bearings seem to be good on the crankset. And I'm really cleaning off these brakes today. I don't want to get going too fast. If it was summertime, I would just fly down this at max speed. But being that this is so slippery right now, I'm not about to go much faster than this. Especially because it was even slippery coming up. I'll ride over here. There's a little bit more grip because of the footprints. Another thing is these brakes need to be bled, especially the front one. It's like squishing my fingers. I might just replace the pads in springtime. Right now I'm just riding it basically as is, doing some upgrades that I want to do to it. Slow it down. Getting a little too fast there. Also being really careful because I still have some shoulder issues from being hit by a car last year while riding my open trike. Can't really talk about that in detail yet because I'm still waiting on a settlement from that. So currently everything I've been buying lately is just been my own money coming out of my own pocket. Okay, this is really slippery through here. My toes are getting cold. I really need to adjust these brakes so I'm not two fingering them. And adjust them further inward. I feel like most people just ride their brakes the way they were set from the factory. But I can also tell this bike was flipped over and worked on the trail a couple times because some of the bolts and the clamps are scratched on the bars. Bars also have a scratch from running a light. If whoever all had it beforehand running a light. So there it is, getting slippery again. So right now I'm using a GoPro mount for my light. See right here. You know, I can't help this. Every single time I take this bike out, I end up just under an hour for the ride. At 52 minutes.